We will top this. Don't worry. We will edit the bits.
It's okay.
Out.
I can edit and cut out. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right.
Yeah. Great.
Off we go.
Hello, Sensei. Today I have with me arguably the greatest in modern history, or one of the greats, Neil Adams, two-time Olympic medalist, world champion, and easily the greatest Jujigatame of all time. I just want to say thank you for all the records and all the tutorials you have done throughout the decades. My first Jujigatame that I hit in competition, it was Newaza Cup 2 years ago, and it was your Jujigatame with the Adams and Briggs. Great stuff. Thank you so much. And of course, all the other stuff, like the commentary on the Inoue DVD. That's how I got to hit my Ochigari and all the other techniques. So I'm very happy I have you here with me today. I still cannot believe it.
It's an absolute honor. Honestly, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm honored that it was the Juji and you're having success with it. Brilliant.
Thank you, Sensei. So today we have a few topics to discuss. The first one, it's not going to be such an easy topic because it almost coincides with the climate of today's world and education, and that is the topic of mental health. And I do believe Judo has a vital role to play in the future. This is something that has touched me personally, I have to say. So I really want to put emphasis on this. The thing with mental health, yes, there are so many situations, so many anecdotes. Everyone's different, I understand that. But when it comes to having like that cloud hanging above your head, and to the point where sometimes it can get to, I would say, suicidal tendencies, I have framed it through my own experiences and the studies that I have done. It's going to be either, you know, two camps. The first one being how do I explain this? Like whatever, like the sense of whatever you are in, the situation or the feeling or whatever, it is somewhat permanent, and thus there's no escape, and the only escape is to just basically end it all, or I don't know, many things. And the other one is this feeling of being powerless, and almost coincides with shame in a sense. So one example, 20 years ago, we lost Isao Inokuma. He had his business. He was already an Olympian. He's a champion, but his business failed towards the end of his life. And he felt that, you know, he couldn't recover from that. And eventually he committed seppuku. We have also Gunji Koizumi, who was the father of British Judo. He was fighting this illness and it was terminal. He was already, I believe, 78 years old. He wore his tuxedo, he shaved, he sat in his favorite chair, and then put his bag on his head. So he felt that he could not survive it, but also he wanted to prove that, you know, the power is mine, I'm controlling my own ending. So he did not want to feel powerless in a sense. But the majority of the youth, I would say, you know, teenagers, 20s, 30s, 40s, it's mostly about, you know, not getting out of whatever you are in. And it can be mitigated through, I would say, many practices such as judo, arts, music. And I'll give an example. Here in Paris, we have what is called the Suicide Prevention Center. And one of their activities, or few activities, are art class, music, and also creative writing, I believe. What do all these have in common, including judo? If you want to add judo to the mix, it's the first one being self-expression, which is something very hard to do, to learning a type of skill that will give you some kind of confidence, and also finally like a series of small short-term goals, which also was ultimately give you the sense that, you know, tomorrow is going to be different. So couple that with the power of judo, the strategies that we build, the techniques, the physical strength that we built with it, I do believe that judo can have this effect, and also, you know, change the life to the best. Like before, you know, what we call traumas or incidents, you know, a life is, you know, when someone is looking back, I would say, you know, I can attest to that. It's, you know, before the incident and after the incident. And obviously that turn is for the worst. But, you know, when I started, you know, painting and doing martial arts, my life took another turn, but it was for the best. And I do believe that we can do that. When recently we lost two great champions, Jack Hatton and Craig Fallon, nobody like mentioned the term suicide or a mental illness. And you did your podcast about mental health, and I'm very grateful for it. But the fact that nobody mentioned it or even talked about it almost made me angry and somewhat disappointed, because like I said, this is something that has touched me a little bit personally. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to say in all of this, you know, similar to Kano's days when jiu-jitsu and Japan, all of it was going through a switch, instead of discarding it as an old practice, he says, wait, you know, let's put it in our education. I do believe it has a lot of things that it can help with the youth, with the people, with society. And now with the evolution of studies of mental health and, you know, the awareness of it all, I do believe that judo can do the same what Kano did before and say, you know, let's put it in that too. So what are your thoughts on this?
Firstly, I think that I've kind of experienced many of those things that you've just talked about. And I think when it comes to what's happened with Craig and Jack Hatton, Craig Fallon and Jack Hatton, I think it's only that I think we're kind of half defending and protecting family. And I think that we would like to go into it in a lot more detail. Me for sure. I mean, we feel quite strongly about it. I mean, I really have felt many of those things that you've said. And I've felt at times, you know, when I lost 2 Olympic gold medals, and for me, it was losing 2 Olympic gold medals, not winning 2 silvers. And I was bereft, you know, I was very down for a long time. It's something that I had nightmares about because I just didn't quite achieve everything that I wanted to achieve. I was world champion, European champion, and 2 Olympic silver medals, 2 different categories, but it wasn't enough. And I knew that I could do better. So that was one thing, how to cope with that. And the other thing was when I was not performing as well, you know, when my level started to go down, or when I became, I had to face the possibility that I had to finish competition and competitive judo, which was very difficult for me. And I know it's very, very difficult for a lot of fighters, because they have this amazing life where they do some amazing things. They travel to amazing places and they have success, which puts them on top of the world. And then all of a sudden it stops and you have to reconsider your direction in life and what else you're going to do, what you're going to do to make money, how you fit into normal society. And I think that that is a shock. And it's one of the main reasons that many fighters put off their retirement. You know, they carry on 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 4 years too long. But it's not too long for them. But, you know, there's nothing worse than not performing at your best. So I think that I've experienced all of that. And I've also experienced something quite unique. Just a few weeks ago, I had COVID. I contracted COVID and I was in between. I was in doing work for the IJF commentary. And I was in between Georgia and also, where else were we? We were in stuck. I'm just trying to think. I'll think of the name. Anyway, we were in between competitions, and so what happened was I contracted. It was Turkey, in between Turkey. So I contracted COVID, and I was put into isolation. And I've never been that ill before. I was very sick. But I was on my own. IJF, International Judo Federation, my wife especially was contacting me every single day, 3-4 times a day. But I was ill on my own with no real guide as to whether I was really sick, whether I should be admitted into hospital or whether, and I had to go somewhere where I hadn't been for a long time. I had to dig in somewhere and say, right, I need to make myself better and I need to get my head in the right place, because I was in four walls and no contact with anybody physically. And I had to stay there until COVID left and it went away from me. So that was, I hadn't experienced that for a little while, that feeling of, of not knowing, and that feeling of having to get my mind in a different place, redirect my mind. And I think that that is one of the key points with a lot of people that have finished competition, that are going through depression, don't know what job they're going to do next, and people don't really understand what they're feeling. And I think that that's one of the main points here, is that people don't really know what's happening inside their heads. And so this desperation sets in, and depression. And especially, I mean, we have had, haven't we, the most incredible 16 months, 17 months. And it's turned the whole world on its head, and everybody has had to redirect either their work or their social life for sure. And the amount of contact that they have with family has decreased. And so, you know, there's been a lot of depression, I think, especially in the latter half of this COVID period. But it's been difficult for everybody. And I think that Jigoro Kano's teachings, you know, what he originally set it up for, Judo, was not just an education for Judo, physical exercise, but also for the mental exercises as well.
Yeah. So do you believe that maybe something can be done, for example, a few times a year, seminars about this topic, or it can not infiltrate, but get in, become a part of the activities for mental health, like art, or as a means of expression, and also as a mean of, you know, empowering someone that's feeling desperate, that's feeling powerless? That, do you think that we can create some type of a program or curriculum, or any way that, for example, I myself have thought about visiting that suicide prevention center and do a presentation of my own. Now, obviously, with the what's going on now, I cannot do that, but it's something that has crossed my mind. So and also, well,
I think it's very important that we do. I know that the UK, we've just started we have an organization now where if somebody is having problems and mental problems and finding it difficult to cope, then there are mentors that can help. But I think that at the moment, people are not coming, they're not expressing themselves, and perhaps are a little afraid to breach it, because there's the stigma of something not quite being right with the point of mental health. And I think that it's something that, like you said, maybe it needs one or two of us to go out there and to give honest opinions and honest accounts of things that have happened to us at different times in our lives that we've had to cope with. And I think that it's imperative, because we talk about physical exercise, immediately people look at somebody that's overweight and they talk about the physical program that they need to participate in, but nobody looks into the, you know, somebody can be in great shape and look physically in good condition, but actually in a bad way, be at a bad place in their lives, you know. And I think that we need to have it so that people can access it, and able to access it in an easier way. And to tell you the truth, I'm not quite sure the best way of doing that, because I think that people are reluctant and, you know, they are perhaps a little embarrassed about it, which is why they keep quiet about it. I think that we need to make it more accessible.
Yes, I agree 100%. Like, one of the great things that it can teach you, the mental fortitude. For example, you know, someone goes into judo, they have that one guy in class, he hits them with 3 serenages, 5 serenages, whatever it may be, and you feel helpless. You come back, you start to study, you look at fighting films footage, and then, you know, the next time you start to defend a little bit better, he hits you with 2 instead of 5. You know, the next time it's, you know, it's a close tie, you're defensive, you're not attacking, but he cannot cannot throw you anymore. You know, next time you come a little bit more offensive, and then until finally you are able to beat that, you know, training partner. If we take that strategical mentality and also that, you know, relentless mentality outside, I think we can fight life's greatest battles with this mentality. Like, for example, when I say back in 2013, when I started martial arts and started, you know, becoming a painter and looking for expos, it's not that, you know, my life suddenly became like this wonderful, you know, dream, but I had many battles that were even harder than the stuff that happened to me when I was growing up, and I was able to fight them. It was, you know, thanks to this mentality that I had won on the mat. So, you know, sometimes we have something, but we do not know the value of it. So it's absolutely crucial, in my opinion, to keep pointing the finger that, you know, we are being taught this, you know, do not forget this. I think that's very important.
Well, I think one of the most important things, you know, it's one thing learning a technique. It's another thing being able to adapt to your opponent moving and doing different things to you, and then adapting to the movement to enable yourself to be able to work that technique. And the thing is I think the same in life, you know, we have to adapt. We've certainly had to adapt over the last 18 months.